moving on maybe from the NVIDIA stuff, briefly just talking about a game that makes use of all of these technologies in some interesting ways, is Pragmata, the new Capcom title, RE Engine title. Very cool looking. Obviously, there was a demo of it at Gamescom. There is a public demo, I believe, of the game currently. And that is a game that previously we were kind of a little curious about because it seemed like they were using a lot of ray tracing, but they were not using the RE Engine path tracing. Well, it turns out they are using the RE Engine path tracing, which is pretty cool. So I think the biggest difference here, now there were some issues with the demo that we expect to be corrected in time, if not even by the time of this video's publication, they may have been corrected. Yeah. It sounds like they're doing some work on site. But to me, at least, the big takeaway from this demo is like the reflections look great, obviously very clean with the ray reconstruction. The GI looks pretty good. But obviously the big change in this demo relative to RE Engine typically is that the shadows are like extremely precise and extremely clean. Out of RE Engine, what we're used to seeing in the shadow presentation is like super alias, super sawtoothy, not very stable. It's one of the characteristic weaknesses of RE Engine, as well as I would say the SSR in RE Engine. Yeah, really. Although obviously the SSR is not a factor when you are ray tracing the lighting there, when you're doing ray trace reflections, I should say. But yeah, do you have any comments on this demo? Yeah. And also maybe some comments on some of the unique elements, the appearance of DLSS in this title?
Yeah, so in this one, it was a great surprise to see because it wasn't announced beforehand and it was just like told to us like, oh, we're going to be running Pragmata here with PT, which is great. Makes a lot of sense, especially for this with the hard sci-fi environments in the game. Yeah. Arguably almost more than Resident Evil. Yeah. Because, you know, it's like essentially made of hard plastics,
super
metals.
Artificial and glassy. Yeah. And
a lot of glass everywhere too. Yeah. Some really nice funhouse mirror kind of glass looking stuff in it. In general, like you said, the demo we had some sort of issue with it at the moment they were trying to fix before they brought it out to a more public demo, where there's extra like fireflies all over the scene when you sit still in the lighting presentation. So hopefully that's fixed by the time this is out. It does actually remind me a little bit of an issue that we saw back when we saw Resident Evil Requiem earlier this year. I wonder if there's some sort of issue right now in RE Engine in general. But that looked pretty great. We also saw in the reflections themselves too, they're actually reflecting almost everything in the world. And interestingly, the Capcom games now start using strand-based hair. Yeah. And even that was reflected in the reflections. I don't know how, and it was also moving. It was dynamic in the reflections. It wasn't like a static thing. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not this is using the quote-unquote RTX hair.
The linear swept spheres, is that it?
Linear swept spheres, which is like a simplified representation. Instead of just using geometry, you use like a bounded sphere kind of thing. And you can really represent like elongated tubes and stuff like that, which is what you would use for hair here. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how the lighting on the hair was done here, but it seems like it would be a great title to try it out on if they were doing it. But otherwise, it was reflected in the reflections. Looked great. Really love the tight shadows. DLSS 4 kind of stuff in here. I mean, it was running really fast. I didn't notice any image problems beyond the noise that we talked about mainly. So we'll see if that fixes up for the final product. But this is like, I believe, late April. So we'll hopefully have a lot of good core coverage of that PC version. I'm happy that it's going to have PT in it because originally I thought it would just be the RT reflections and RTGI, which is already a great thing. But having that extra layer now in a sci-fi environment makes so much sense to me.
Yeah. Actually, initially when I was looking at this demo, I thought that the artifact patterns that stem from, something inputting to the ray reconstruction there, I thought they were kind of intentional because it looked to me like almost like an old-timey film grain where you have those splotches, like if you're watching a movie from like the 1940s or something. Yeah. But they are not actually intentional, which should be pointed out in this footage. But I think otherwise it looks terrific. Obviously the shadow presentation, those super crisp shadows, even on like tiny little bits of like newspaper scattered around, that looks really cool. Again, it's like very unlike what we're used to seeing from RE Engine, so it's great to see the application of some very advanced technology here being put to the, obviously with ray reconstruction, obviously with the path tracing, actually greatly improving this game's appearance. And it does look quite handsome, I'd have to say, in addition to RE, which I think is the new Resident Evil Requiem is coming out in February, I believe.